have a hell of a lot of things to talk about. My name is EveryWei. With me, as always, is Vinnie and Yulwei. And as you can hear, Rakan, who is very upset. But g'day, guys. How are we? It's very early for us, Vinnie. How are you feeling?
I didn't know this time of day existed.
Also, I'm going to immediately address chat. I stand by putting Saigon low. They had one good week.
Wow, we're going in too early. Nice.
Still not going to make playoffs. Maybe they won't come 8th. Fair enough. Maybe they come 7th.
It's actually pretty hard to get 8th with 2 wins already. But we can get into that a little bit later, looking at the standings and stuff. But it's actually pretty hard, I believe, to get 8th in their position now.
Yeah, true. Yulwei, how have you been? How are you?
Well, pretty good, pretty good. A little bit sleepy, but nah, I'm always I feel like I'm always sleepy. We always stream to the at times where I'm sleepy, either just after waking up or just before I go to bed. So nothing unusual.
Yeah, and you have us up at 9 a.m.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
It's actually 10 now. It's actually 10:15 now. We started late. So, I mean, what were your guys' initial, thoughts just on the first VCS week? I thought it was a great week, honestly. I thought we got some really, really good games. Vinnie, what did you think?
I should have learned this by now, but there's no point in doing pre-split rankings for the VCS because nothing makes sense here.
I think first week is always the hardest, though. In every single league, right? There is so much time.
It's true. I think by the end of the split, it'll look a lot more how we had it, but boy.
Yeah.
It's power ranking for the whole spring split for a reason, right? We didn't power rank the teams for week 1, and
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yulwei, just what was your overall impression of week 1?
I thought the level of some of the teams actually looked quite decent for a very first week in the minor region. So, hopeful, I guess. I think 𝘀𝗀𝗯 looked even better than expected. We saw one very good team secret game. We saw some very good team fighting from 𝘁𝗲𝗰𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. So, yeah. Feel like we had some some clown fiestas as always, of course. We are never going to get rid of those, and that's why you come here, right?
Why would we?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we had some very good gameplay as well. Some
other things you can watch. Yeah, exactly. So let's kind of just whip through all of our teams. And we can. I need to actually get the exact standings up at the moment because I don't actually have them. But we can start at the top. 𝘁𝗲𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀. That's a weird thing to say.
It is.
Yeah, they
Time
are
machine.
on top. Kind of wacky. Yulwei, what are your what's your over/under on this team?
So, I'd say their bot lane is way better than expected. So, 𝘁𝗏𝗏 and 𝘁𝗏𝗏 showing up.
Yep.
Being the... Wait, how does it fit into the category?
I'm just asking for your general impression.
Yeah.
Not anything specific. Just what's your general impression of the team?
Yeah, the rookies showing up. Just all 3 rookies playing way better than expected, and 𝘁𝗏𝗏 getting back into form. So we always knew 𝘁𝗏𝗏 had the potential to be one of the best, maybe even the best top laner again. We have seen it before, but the last few months, he had so many awkward performances, so many tilting performances, or tilter performances, I should say. So, pretty happy with what I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. Vinnie, do you have any extra things to add about the Buffalo?
Just general improvement in play across the board from what we saw in promotion tournament. Froggy, he's still losing CS, but he's actually making up for that with his map movements now, for the most part. 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗏, still a bit hit or miss, because there have been games where he's not been so great, especially in the losses, they've been run over. I think most of it hinges on 𝘁𝗀𝗀𝗀 and what he's able to pick, because when he his own stuff he's not. He's obviously most comfortable on, like Boodia. That's when they tend to fall apart a little bit.
Mhm.
But overall, look, Buffalo really impressed. I think, yeah, I don't think they're an 8th place team anymore at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe not.
But-
I still don't. I'm not jumping on this ridiculous hype train that people have built up.
I don't think they're getting above 6 long term.
Yeah.
Long term, but they're probably not. But they
It's
they
much better
could
than
not
I
be
expected.
I expected them to be dead last by a long margin. So
It's
Yeah.
much better than we expected.
They are. I feel like their playstyle is actually very good for an early season sprint, because you have a very dominant laner in top lane. You have a new rookie bot lane that has played together in the promotion tournament, so they might even come in with a little bit more practice than some of the established bot lanes. CBL and Slater getting back together probably had fewer games together, right? So I feel like 𝘀cie and 𝘁𝗶𝗆 have a little bit of a head start, and 𝘁𝗀 just does whatever he wants to. Runs around on Lilia and Udyr. And yeah, I feel like they could really hit the ground running here and get maybe even 1 or 2 more wins before other teams are able to catch them and put them down where they belong. I believe, I'm definitely with you. I think they are not a playoff team, but you never know. Maybe they improve even further and can actually contest for playoffs.
Maybe. Let me just. I said I was going to get the standings up. Let me just get the actual current standings so we can go from top to bottom. Give me one moment. This is something I should have.
Yeah, next one is 𝘀𝗀, of course.
𝘀𝗀, of course. They are 1-0, and they did play against.
Flash.
I'm mental blanking. Yeah, Flash. Sorry, it's early. And yeah, it's really early. I'm not doing great. Yulwei, we'll start with you this time. You were super hype on 𝘀𝗀. Are they living up to it so far?
Oh yeah, they looked so good. I'm so excited for this team. 𝘁𝗏 coming in with a set and showing everyone that set mid, you can still play the champion if you're good enough at it, and if your side lanes and your jungler can actually play together and with you and build off your nice early roam advantages. So very, very good look, especially for 𝘁𝗏.
For sure. I mean, so Vinny, I believe you have something you need to say to 𝘀𝗀.
Yeah, you're alright. No, I was going to have a big formal apology to Sal, but I might actually save that for a later date, for the actual broadcast. Make it nice,
Yeah.
make it fancy, not have Pepsi Man in the background. That sort of thing. But the gist of it is, yeah, okay, Buffalo just sucks talent out of players apparently, because
Talent
Style was,
vacuum, yeah.
or Hin does at the very least, because Style actually looks solid with a
See, I wanna
with a
ask
really
both of
strong
you
laning
this.
support in B.
I want to ask both of you this, because a lot of people in our community have immediately jumped on the Style's really good. You know, Style actually best ADC in the BCS. No, B was just playing like a Smurf.
Well,
Like,
𝘁𝗏
B,
and Levi
like,
as well.
Style-
Yeah.
Style was doing well. I don't want to take that away from him. He definitely improved and really surprised me. But, like, Levi and B were just like, if you can't carry as an ADC in those games, then you're terrible. Now, last split, Style couldn't carry in those situations. So it's an improvement. But I think it's more that B got better.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the funny
B-
thing
B
is,
looks fine.
Style actually still had the most deaths in the very first game. It was only 2 deaths, and he played 𝘁𝗏, so dove in a few times. And in the game with 9, 2, and 8, but still, all the other players on the team had 0 or only 1 death. So I feel like Style definitely got overrated for the first 2 games. I'm not saying he's a bad ADC. I think he's actually exactly what 𝘀𝗀 needs, a clean-up ADC that comes into play later in the game. But getting both MVPs from the official broadcast and all the hype, it's a little bit too much. I think it's a little bit disingenuous to him as well. Just don't overhype him after 2 games. Please, just give him a little bit of time to actually improve.
Yeah, he did improve. Like, give him credit where credit's due. Because he
for sure.
definitely played better than expected. But he didn't rock my world. And I'm sorry, my phone is ringing that I have to take. So if you guys could just fill for a sec.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna basically throw down a bit of thoughts with Sal because he played really well. But yeah, he didn't exactly have a bot lane AD carry to play against, especially in that second game. Because my God, poor Div kid was completely annihilated by B and Levi in particular, just time and time again. So
Yeah, I'd say his second game was actually very impressive and a very good omen, I guess, for the future, and
Yeah.
it makes Leaf very hopeful because the first game was just cleanup duty, right? He didn't really do much in the first game, if I remember correctly. It was mostly the Levi and B show, especially
Mostly the
B.
B show.
Yeah, B on Rel looked absolutely amazing. And then the second game, he was actually more of the important carry, especially when it came to late game. 𝘁𝗀𝗏 with the DR1 cosplay, not quite executed as well as in the first game. Yeah, his Jace was a little rough. And I think 𝘀𝗀𝗋 played around a little bit more in the second game after absolutely shit-stomping game one. So I can definitely see a bright future for Styles as a player, but I also think we all should be a little bit cautious not to overhype him, because it can't do him any good if we overhype him after 2 games, right? If he just performs average next week, people are going to jump off the hype train again and then criticize him unfairly.
Back in the head bandwagon, and he's going up against the best AD carry in a row on Friday. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually an exciting matchup, right? It's not what we expected to say after coming into the split, right? Looking at week 2, okay, one interesting matchup we have is, of course, Riot against Style. Who wouldn't have thought that?
Yeah, I definitely not. We was never gonna say. I thought that might be exciting for a different reason, but not because these 2 players are actually performing really well. But yeah, Styles really gonna get tested next week, especially against the 𝘀𝗀 bot lane as a whole should be tested against Celebrity Slay. I think that'll be very interesting to see. Because maybe it won't be because it's a bot lane with Slay in it, so it's going to be 1v2 for the most part. So maybe not, but it's definitely where 𝘀𝗀 gets to show off that they're actually a good team. Well, they showed they were actually a good team, but like their bot lane gets to show off a bit more individual prowess in terms of who they're laning against.
I mean, every single lane, every single position is interesting in that matchup. That's why it's so hype. Everyone expects this to be the number 1 matchup, right? Everyone wants this to be the final. It's the new kings against old kings rivalry thingy. Everyone loves and wants to see again and again. It's DR1 against 𝘁𝗀𝗏. It's 𝘁𝗏 against Zeros. It's Yijin against Levi. Like, every single matchup is good. I don't even know where to look.
Well, actually, that's a good point. Good time to go down to SBTC because that's actually our third. That's actually our third highest team at 2-1. So 2-1 in game score, 1-0 in series. Hello. And welcome back every day. SBTC thoughts since you missed the end of that. Span.
A little bit disappointing, honestly. Not as clean as I wanted them to be in the matches they played. Obviously, they were down a big piece of the puzzle in Zeros. Everything was a bit weird for them. But they still sort of did what we always thought SBTC would do. They won lane and then they won games.
Yeah. I think DR1 was very impressive. He showed up. And this makes me all the more hyped for his clash against 𝘀𝗀𝗏, right? DR1 on top lane actually looked amazing, so I would really like to see him transition into the top lane position, honestly. I know we need good mid laners, but his champion pool, I feel like his ceiling could be even higher in top lane.
The one, I mean, he definitely showed up big on, especially the Camille. That's the one that really stands out in terms of what he played, but he performed pretty well across both their wins. The first game was a bit of a shocker, but BTS just showing showing some decent stuff in that first game. But the thing I'm really unsure about when it comes to their matchup against 𝘀𝗀 is 𝘁𝗀 didn't look great.
That's true.
𝘁𝗀 just kind of looked like he was there. It was really all in on 𝘁𝗀 and a bit of the bot lane.
Yeah, I feel like scheduling really worked out for this team. They get another week. Their only opponent in week 1, where they had to where 𝘂cie had to sit out, was BTS. Probably the worst team, or if not the worst, maybe the second worst team in the league. So they really got away with not really looking too great in week 1, and no one really knows how good they will look. It's even super hard to say after this week, right? Because their opponents will be 𝘀𝗀 and 𝘀𝑠ℎ. 𝘀𝑠ℎ looked pretty bad, and 𝘀𝗀 looked amazing. So if they fall to 𝘀𝗀 and then beat 𝘀𝑠ℎ, we still have absolutely no idea where they stand.
Yeah, it's a bit wacky like that. I do think we can start reading things into it a little bit, because up against 𝘀𝗀, we need to see their laners going toe-to-toe with the 𝘀𝗀 laners and the junglers, of course. If they can't do that, I think that does set expectations that they're potentially like not a team really contending for the title. But yeah, we'll have to see.
So the next team on the list. Oh, so
no, it was just I think the laning phase is, if that's where they struggle, that's a really bad thing, because that's like the last place they should be struggling.
Yeah.
I would be thinking that 𝘀𝗀 would be really at their have the real advantage in the mid to late game, with a bit more cohesion on the top side, a bit more idea of how they're playing around the map. And from how they looked at against 𝘀𝑠ℎ, even though that was just sort of a win lane and snowball the game, it still just like they looked really clean. They looked like they knew what they were doing for the most part. Kind of got caught a couple times in 𝘂𝑥, but they looked like pretty much they were in control the whole time.
Yep. Now we move to the 1-1 teams. We have a positive win rate team, 𝘂𝑐e, winning 2-0 in the first series and losing 1-2 in the second series. And then 𝘀𝑠ℎ winning 2-1 and losing 0-2, so slightly negative in win rate. But of course, we go off match score, so both are at 1-1. 𝘂𝑐e, this would be playoffs cutoff. What were your impressions for 𝘂𝑐e? Very different looks on the 2 days, I'd say.
𝘂𝑐e should have another loss in that games column at the very least, because they should not have won that first game against 𝘁media. 𝘀𝑠ℎ, they really shouldn't have. Their second game against 𝘀𝑠ℎ looked really clean. Then they had one really clean game against 𝘁𝑎𝑙𝑊, and then
really clean
completely
game,
fell apart. So 𝘂𝑐e seems to be really, really inconsistent in that they have the one really, really good game of series, but the rest are just kind of shit fest. And
yeah, it's really hard to analyze them, right? Because the games they lose, they don't really lose because of macro misplays or being or suddenly or let me rephrase that. So you can't really analyze their losses because they just lose off tilt, or it looks like they lose off tilt, right? They're just fumbling basic concepts in the game, basic mechanical plays. They just look lost, uncoordinated. So it's really hard to get something out of these games, I feel like. So where do we stand with 𝘂𝑐e? Disappointment? Okay?
Yes.
Yeah?
I think disappointment, honestly. I don't think they should be struggling in the ways they were. Also, Yulwei, can you just look at Discord? I don't think they should be struggling in the ways they were. It was concerning. Settle down, you. And that's not a good look going forward if they really want to be a playoff contention team. It's not doom and gloom. It's just a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything you can say about 𝘂𝑐e. They're showing signs of the team we want them to be, but they're they are struggling with. Pun in particular in that SGB series just got rolled over.
Oh yeah, Hasmid.
He was completely worthless in that series. Even in the game they won, he wasn't exactly impressive. But
yeah, it for sure was a big problem against Hasmid. Yeah, I'm still mostly positive. I think I'm a little bit more positive on Cerberus than you guys are, especially because Ego still hasn't played the game, and their bot lane still looks very, very good, right? Artemis was on our list for top 4 players or player of the week contenders, and he had some amazing games. Once again, looking like one of the best ADCs, maybe even the best ADC from week 1. So they have their carry player.
He was 1v9 and a lot of losses.
Yeah, I'd say so too. So I think there's a lot of potential with this team. Very dangerous word, I know, but yeah,
Very dangerous.
very, very, especially with a team that is tilt prone. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's probably still play of contenders, especially with Flash looking bad in the first series.
Yeah, and we will get to them. I do have to apologize. I have just gotten some IRL news that I need to deal with. It's very urgent, so I'm going to have to drop. These two, though, I will leave you in their lovely, capable hands, and, of course, the comfortable hands of 𝘀cie_𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀. I do apologize, everyone. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to. But, yeah, I'll catch you guys on broadcast.
Yeah.
Hope everything goes well.
Hopefully that works out for you, mate. But
let's crack on, as EveryWei would like to say.
Yeah,
so
we'll crack on and move to 𝘁cie_𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀 Luxury, who are 1-1 after losing 2-0 to Cerberus and then winning against BTS in rather interesting fashion.
Yeah, I feel like GLX overall played the 2 worst series in terms of quality of games. Would you agree?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, Team Secret against 𝘁𝗱𝗯𝗏 might be a contender as well, though they had one really clean game for Team Secret in the first one. So yeah, I feel like the first series I didn't catch absolutely everything, but especially game 1, it was a banger to watch. It was a great start to the season. I'm not complaining about that, but it was not great League of Legends. It was it was a mess.
Yeah, it was a fun back and forth, but Cerberus should have lost that, but it really just came to a bit of sloppy play from 𝘁cie_𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀 that lost them that. Then they got rolled by Cerberus, so it was like, oh, okay, Cerberus just had a bit of stage jitters, which turned out not to be really the case once we saw them against Buffalo, but Luxury has just been quite disappointing surprising in some ways. I think we're rather happy with how Killer Queens performed. Camcan looks better than expected. Blazers has been showing off, especially in their BTS games. He basically put the team on his back, but Shine in particular has just been a massive disappointment.
Yeah, Shine looked super rough. He had to be carried over the finish line by his team. He had some of the worst positioning mistakes I've seen in a long time, actually since Style last season.
Yeah.
So maybe it takes us a season to get Shine to the Style level now. Yeah, he still had good stats in some of the games, so he was clearly able to at least play or collect some kills here and there. Well, he was a big liability in terms of positioning, so he has to improve on that, especially in this meta where ADCs are so important.
Yeah, it was basically that despite Blazers really doing really well and BTS fumbling the comp, they still almost lost that series because Shine just didn't do a lot until it took 3 items before he was able to do a hell of a lot on Smear. So he's going to be a bit of a liability for this team, and I think they are going to fall down the power rankings a little bit. It's not like they have far to fall. They were placed at 6th. So
yeah,
that's good news for them, I suppose.
You think you're going to drop them for 𝘁𝗱𝗯𝗏? Probably, yeah?
I think so. I think Buffalo has made a good case that they should be 6th. I think BTS may even be a better team for the most part. They just need to work on consistency, especially in the jungle position. If they can if we can work out what the hell is actually going on with DK, is he on the team? Is he not? If he is, I think now's the time to try him. You're up against 𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝘀 next week, so may as well.
Yeah, BTS is another case that's really hard to.
It's really hard to tell because the wins they have look so good. They
Yeah.
look so clean, really on form. Then they just fumble drafts and executing their win cons, and then just things fall apart, basically.
Yeah, it's another sad team to watch because it's kind of frustrating to follow this team, even from percent last split, where you can clearly see this team has some good players and some good plays, but it's never good enough to really compete. So it's just a little bit of a throwaway, right? It's kind of interesting to follow their story, but once they're down in the 6th position, 7th position, it gets kind of meh. You don't really want to talk or think about this team, which is actually super dangerous for the other teams. This is why I think this split doesn't really have the FTV kind of team, because every team is still dangerous enough to attack even top teams. Maybe not the very top teams, but the 4th, 5th, maybe even 3rd team can lose a game or maybe even a series to BTS. Yeah.
Yeah, they can influence the bottom end of playoffs pretty happily. Like they've shown they can easily take games off, and if it comes down to a game score into getting into playoffs in that 4-5 position, that's really gonna that could end up with 𝘀𝗶𝗀𝗀, or maybe SBTC even kicking themselves that they lost that game to SBTC.
Yeah, I feel like BTS really needs to pick up a win in the next 2 weeks. They play 3 series against 𝘀𝗶𝗀, 𝘀𝗶𝗁, and Flash, so not the easiest schedule, especially if 𝘀𝗶𝗁 and Flash continue to improve. So I feel like if they can't pick up a single serious victory, their spring split is almost doomed already, because that's 5 series. If you're 0-5,
if you're 0-5,
haven't even played against 𝘀𝗀,
yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
That's rough. Well, we kind of skipped a little, but so we're going back up to Secret.
Ugh.
I think oof.
Yeah, it's my fault. I know, it's my fault.
Yeah, it's all on Yulwei.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
They looked so good in game 1, and then it just all fell apart.
Do you remember the game 2 and game 3? I don't even remember what happened in those games. I need to go back and rewatch them, but they looked so completely different. Their bot lane actually looked so much worse than expected.
If I remember correctly, we saw a shift from CBL. We saw them sub in a rookie, and he wasn't necessarily
right. Game 2, yeah.
Yeah, they put in 𝘀𝗰 instead of CBL. He did okay, if I remember correctly. I don't think he was necessarily the reason they lost. But they definitely looked a lot less coordinated. So we were thinking maybe CBL just has a really powerful voice in the team and is a good part of their shot calling. Then they put CBL back in, but put him on 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, which doesn't let him decide when to pick the fights. They were kind of lacking engage as a whole, and then they just kind of sat there and got pushed in around the map. Could not win the side lanes with Lucian Jace, and got completely out-rotated by Artifact's Twisted Fate. Not Artifacts, sorry. Froggy's Twisted Fate. And
yeah, just looking at the comps again in game 2 and 3, we had very execution-heavy compositions for Secret in the very first week. And that is not the way to go, especially with a new team. You should always try to go as simple as possible, especially in a league where only 4 teams make playoffs and you don't actually know where you stand. Experimentation can come later. Just secure your top 4 spot first, and then you can experiment with harder to execute comp, try to get to the next level, prepare for playoffs. I really don't like coming into week 1, stomping game 1, then subbing in another player to break up synergy, rebuild synergy that hasn't lasted for long now, coming in with 𝘀𝘀𝗃𝗃, 𝘁𝗃𝗃, 𝘁𝗃𝗃 topside. That is super hard to play. There is some high level League of Legends required to win the game. And then game 3, they one-up the comp from before and play 𝗀𝗃𝗰𝗀𝗀 solo lanes with 𝗀𝗃 Galio bot lane. Like, whoa, holy moly.
Yeah.
You need to be so precise and perfect in your execution to actually make that comp work. It's... Yeah.
You need fantastic vision. You need so much pressure that they weren't able to really put out because 𝘀𝗀𝗃𝗃 was roaming around the map. They didn't have any engage to really threaten anything as much as they wanted. It's just very, very disappointing showing from Secret. I mean, I also think their draft priority was a bit scuffed. I don't think Galio support's that good. 𝘀𝗀𝗃𝗃, sure, it's an artifact special, but not that great.
I honestly think game 2, they
My
thought they had
space.
game 2 in the bag. I think
I
they
think so too, yeah.
yeah, they stomped game 1. We're like, okay, these guys are so much worse than we are. We can do whatever we want. We can put in the rookie. We can pick 𝘀𝗃𝗃 mid lane. We can go _𝘁𝗃𝗃, 𝘀𝗃𝗃, 𝘁𝗃, literally no front line whatsoever, almost no engage, and let's just stomp these guys in laning phase again. And then that didn't work. And game 3, suddenly, they didn't know where to go, and they actually got stomped in 25 minutes by 𝘁𝗄𝗏. So
Yeah. And you have to, it's really concerning when you consider what they won against in game 1. A rather low engaged comp with an Udyr that was built pretty incorrectly, didn't go phase rush, went for the Conqueror, went for the Flash, very solo queue build. And also Jay just did not look comfortable on it. So and then as soon as they went back to a more standard sort of approach, sure, Froggy on Renekton isn't necessarily standard, but when Buffalo went more standard than the Udyr, it went a lot better for them. And yeah, Secret just sort of fell apart for reasons I've said before.
So, what do you expect of Secret in week 2? Wait, I just
I think-
realized they're only playing 1 series in week 2. That's very unusual.
Yeah. They're up against Cerberus, so I expect that to be really coming down to the bot lane. I don't think they're gonna do any substitutes against Artemis and Ron OP. I want them to stick to what they know. Go get hard engage / pick champions for CBL. Let him lead the way with coated, maybe on the Camille, maybe on maybe not but like something in that sort of vein where he can make those engages. But and then hard to say if Ego is back, which I would assume so after a week, should be recovered enough from sickness. We could see Team Secret sort of get thrown out again. If CBL's in and on an engaged champion, I think their shot calling is a lot better, and their knowledge of what to do feels more comfortable for them. So I think that's how they're gonna have to.
I think the series is actually decided by the first game. I think if Cerberus comfortably wins the first game, they just 2-0 stomp. And if Secret wins the first one, Cerberus just tilts, and Team Secret 2-0s.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really hard for me to see a 2-1 in this series, because I feel like both teams are so momentum heavy, especially Cerberus, in either direction. They either tilt or play amazingly. So, yeah, I feel like I would favor Cerberus right now. I think Cerberus is probably...
I think I would too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, Flash, the last one left.
Oh.
The only team to not win a single game.
Did it? No, they did have the toughest opponent.
Fair.
I think that's fair to say. Their synergy didn't look great. Meliodas was on a garbage champion with a garbage build. So he was not in the game, basically. And yeah, it just wasn't a very good showing from Flash, pretty much top to bottom. Yoshino looked fine in 𝘁𝗍𝗃𝗃, but the rest of the map just lost so heavily he couldn't do anything. If I remember, he made some decent attempts at plays, but it was just won so hard, especially in the jungle and the bot lane, that
there wasn't
anything top mid could do for Flash.
We saw a little bit of life in game 2. I think it was mostly because 𝘀𝗀 decided to troll a little bit, especially 𝘁𝗀𝗃. But yeah, I think 𝘁𝗃 actually looked a little bit better than I expected him to look. I'm really not a 𝘁𝗃 fan, as I have made clear the last podcast, I think, as well. But yeah, I feel like he was maybe the shining light. Other than that, Meliodas had a really rough showing.
Meliodas, he didn't necessarily have a bad showing, but he didn't exactly have a showing at all.
Yeah, true.
He didn't do anything.
He really didn't do anything. It was the classic solo queue in Italy, just not doing anything.
He wasn't able to get off to a strong leaders in Italy, which we sort of expected, which is sort of to be expected against Levi. But then he went for the Night Harvester build, which means if you're not getting ahead with that build, you are actually worthless come late game. If he went for the Moonstock build, he would have actually had a late game, but hey, he didn't. So, and I don't think that's something that's going to make its way over before it gets nerfed out of the game. So we'll see. If it's 11.2 this week, it's still in the game. So maybe they'll pick it up, but I don't think they will. And they tried something interesting with the 𝘁𝗶𝗃𝗃, but it was a late pick into a comp that 𝘁𝗶𝗃's not really good into because there was so much engage on the side of 𝘀𝗀 that it was just easy pickings for B. That's really all what happened in that bot lane. So
what's your expectation for them next week?
Who are they up against? They're up against 𝘀𝗀𝗃 and SBTC. I think 1-1 seems fair. I think if they draft a little bit better and fix a couple of their lane issues, they should be okay into SBTC. They might do okay into SBTC. 𝘀𝗀𝗃, I think.
They should just be able to outmuscle 𝘀𝗀𝗃.
Should be able to outmuscle 𝘀𝗀𝗃. It depends heavily on
Yeah, I think if Flash goes 0-2
actually performs.
I think if Flash goes 0-2, it's really, really time to ring all alarm bells you can find for this orc, because that's a really bad showing.
Yeah.
I think if you go 0-3 at the start, it's almost impossible to contest for a top 2 already. And as a championship winning organization, the back-to-back champions, you always want to strive for as much as you can, of course. And even playoffs is hard from 0-3 down. If you lose to 𝘀𝗀𝗃, it's, I mean, you can always go on a win streak, right? But that's a really important match. I feel like Saturday has 2 very important matches. One is, of course, our match of the week, SBTC against 𝘀𝗀𝗃.
Yeah.
But the other one, the first one, is actually really, really important for both teams. If GLX has any aspirations to reach playoffs, they need to beat Flash, and the same is true for Flash as well.
Yeah, I think Saturday's sort of a catch-22 where the exciting match is the least important because we expect SBTC and 𝘀𝗀𝗃 to be like 1 and 2, roughly. So them winning against each other doesn't affect these standings that much. Whereas Flash and 𝘀𝗀𝗃 really have to fight each other for standings implications. And because with Secret sort of not looking so hot, SBTC I think is pretty safely the number 2 seed in our minds.
Yep, I think so.
I mean, we have to wait to see how they look with 𝘂𝗎 in, but our assumption is with 𝘂𝗎 they're gonna be that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the 4 players we selected for potential player of the week. I think the vote is still running till Friday, I believe. So if you haven't voted,
So,
please go over to Twitter and make sure to vote for one of the 4 players. So we have 𝘀cie𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀𝘀 from 𝘂𝑐𝗵, 𝘂 from 𝘀𝑠, 𝗏𝑎𝑧es from GLX, and 𝘂𝑎𝑟temis from Cerberus.
yeah. Do we start with the least amount? Who currently has the least amount of votes, or just pick a name out of the
Do
hat?
you want to spoil
so
it?
we don't
Yeah.
spoil
Why
it?
not?
How are we gonna pick a name? Guess we'll go who's on what team through standings. So first in the standings is Buffalo, which means first in the standings is 𝘀cie𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀𝘀. He really showed up, especially in that Cerberus series, didn't he? And that's exactly what we want out of that player. That's exactly what Buffalo needed out of that player. His 𝘁𝗏𝗏 was super good. His 𝘁𝗀 was really impressive, and even his 𝗀 in the Team Secret series looked pretty solid.
Yeah, he looked a little bit like a 𝗀 one trick for a while, but then he showed us his 𝘁𝗏𝗏 again. So yeah, I was super happy with 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗏. 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏 is also one of these edge cases where sometimes he makes us dream of what could be possible. A team built around 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗏 with amazing support stuff, where he's the shining star and might be the new top lane superstar, the next Zeros, and then he always disappoints in the end. This is an amazing start. So yeah, 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗏 for me. I think 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗏 was my vote as well, even though looking at the results, I actually want to give a big shout out to 𝗏𝑎𝑧es, because I feel like he hard carried that series.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I didn't vote for 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏, just spoiler alert. He did really well, but I've been burnt before. I mean, it's disingenuous to say I've been burnt before, and that's like why I didn't vote for him. But so like, because like last split he started off really well, then completely fell off at the end. I vaguely remember his. When I made my votes, I remembered his losses being worse than they actually were. So if I voted again, I might give it to 𝘀𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, but I'm not unhappy with who I voted for. Which was B, if we go back down the standings again to 𝘀𝗀𝗏, which was to B.
Yeah.
B only played 2 games, but he looked fantastic.
Yeah, he's in a new team with a new duo partner after playing a very long time alongside 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, so it was a little bit of a question mark how much. Like, there was a debate, I remember, before the season started. I think I debated with Beast if B actually held 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 back, or if 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 held B back. Held B back. And
I think we know the answer now.
I mean,
it's one series, but
the first week definitely let us believe that B was the one being held back. But yeah, I think 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 didn't show everything he has in store for sure. But B, I was always pretty high on B, and he was the only player, I believe, or at least the first one to bring out 𝘀. I'm a big 𝘀 fanboy right now, and I think he played absolutely amazingly in that game.
Oh yeah, I love 𝘀 as well. 𝘀 is one of their better designs of the past few releases, and she is just so fun to watch. She's not the only. No, he wasn't the only 𝘀 play, but he looked the best on her. I think, because that game 1 was just absolutely disgusting out of him. Not necessarily solo carry, but like it felt like it, because he was making so many plays, especially with style, utilizing the E to its maximum potential, and so just really, really great stuff out of him. I can see why you wouldn't vote for him, considering he played a lot less games than the other. Well, he played a whole series less than the other candidates, and they all had like 3-game series in there. So
yeah, it's only 2 games. It's kind of hard to vote for him. I think if the weird thing about VCS schedule is that teams play two series one week and then one series the next week. So
Yeah.
there's not an equal opportunity for everyone every week. I feel like we're going to rightfully, I believe, skew this vote towards players who have played in two series, especially if the teams won two series or one player looked good in both series. But I feel like, especially with gun players, they absolutely stomp a series, and we're by far the best performing team. We have to include at least one. But I'm quite happy seeing the actual standings that B is not winning week one, even though I really like this play. I feel like giving.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think that's a bad look for the vote in itself if Gum just plays one series. Yeah, I was actually really struggling to decide for one player. I think 𝘁𝗏𝗏 in the end, especially with a little bit of recency bias after the last series, was my vote. But I was really considering his opponent in the last series as well. 𝘀𝗏𝗏, for me, looked very good. I think he looked very solid, very down to earth, ready to carry whenever he got the opportunity. Even though his team collapsed alongside or down the road, he always looked very threatening, and his Aphelios is just a joy to watch.
Yeah, I think pretty much the same. 𝘀𝗏𝗏, even in the losses, was 1v9. He was so good in their wins. He was so good in their losses, and it's just a shame his team collapsed, because he really put it all out there to try and win and just wasn't able to do it, which makes me feel really bad for the guy. But massive performance out of him, absolutely fantastic player. I think definitely the best AD carry in week one. Is he the best in the league? We still have to see more out of Slater, but he's making his case for it really firmly. Definitely a player to keep an eye on, as we said last year. But
yeah, I think he has for all the candidates, he had the highest floor. Maybe not the highest highs, even though the highs actually were quite high as well. I think the highest highs have to go to 𝘁𝗏𝗏, who had amazing games on 𝘁𝗏𝗏, solo carried those games in the end there. But I feel like 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏, at least in these in the week one games, or at least from what I can remember, never really fumbled a play, never really got caught in any bad positioning. Like a lot of the other ADCs, even Slater on his 𝘁𝗏𝗏 once again, looking a little bit rough. Had solid laning phases, had very good teamfight positioning. So I feel like if you want to vote of consistency, he should be your vote, because he was the most consistent player in week one. Or consistently good player, probably.
Yeah, probably. Because we had some very consistent players. Hello, Shine.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of, well, and going on the other half of that, for inconsistency, we had to throw in 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏 because his performance against against BTS was fantastic. However, his game against Cerberus really kept him off the vote for me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I was very impressed with Sunday's games. I think 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏's played amazingly. Though his first game was not great either, so definitely on the inconsistent side. And I think for his team to have any chance at playoffs, or at least competing for playoffs, I think playoffs is a really far stretch for GLX, but competing, getting close to players would be a big improvement already. So I think 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏 needs to stabilize, needs to establish himself on the top 3, top 4 of mid laners, and then this team can actually try to play through him as the main carry and achieve a few victories here and there.
Yeah, he looks fantastic on the majors. The Lucian pick against against 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏 really didn't work out for him. That is in part because 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏 is fantastic, and I'm really annoyed that they didn't just pick it for him in all 3 games. So, but yeah, look, 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗏 has shown he can be a really fantastic mid laner, and that is what we need in the VCS. Because, as we keep saying, our mid lane pool talent is really just Dia and Cardi.
Makes you wonder why no one picked
Sometimes
him up for so
unpacked.
long. Why he played to split his ADC substitute thing, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Saw Perks do it and went, I can do that.
Maybe. So I think the last thing, just very quickly to touch on, we are missing every day, of course, so maybe keeping a little bit shorter than usual. Let's just predict the end of week 2 standings. So we saw week 1. All the teams should have 3 series. It's not quite... No, it's not actually what is going to happen. Team Secret only has 1, and Cerberus has 2 more. So Cerberus will be on 4 and Secret on 2. Everyone else on 3.
Scheduling, man.
Not sure. Maybe Secret had something coming up, so they had to reschedule one of their matches. Because this is very unusual. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah,
Also, all their matches are on Friday or Saturday, nothing on Sunday. Maybe we could ask someone potentially.
They have a Sunday. They have a Sunday game in week 5, so I think it's just VCS's bad scheduling.
Oh, fair enough.
Which wouldn't surprise me at all. I think we can probably safely say 𝘀𝗀 will be at first.
Yeah, I think they go 3-0.
Yeah, I think they have to go up against SGB and SBTC, so set current first and projected second. So they could potentially drop it to SBTC, we think, but I don't think it's likely.
Yeah.
So they're probably at a comfortable 3-0. After that, SBTC probably loses to 𝘀𝗀, probably wins Flash, so 1-1, ends up 2-1. Buffalo are there with them at 2-1.
Yeah, I think Cerberus is probably second because they play a series more and they are going to go 2-0 in week 2, for me at least, playing against Secret and BTS.
I think that's fair, yes.
So 3-1 for Cerberus, 3-0 𝘀𝗀, 3-1 Cerberus. Then we have SGB and SBTC on 2-1. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Secret are at the bottom at 0-2.
Yeah, BTS is even worse. They're going to go 0-3 because they lose against Cerberus on Sunday.
Yep.
Rough.
Flash versus GLX. That's the one that decides a little bit. That puts a bit more of a spin on it. Because if Flash wins, they are 0, and they are 1-1 and go above 𝘀ક્ષry, who are 1-2. Oh no,
they would both be 1-2. Yeah,
they'll both be 1-2. Flash ties head to head. And if they lose that one, they're 0-3 and at dead last. I leaning Flash. I think you can't read too much into the 𝘀𝗀 series. They were just so far outclassed that against a more even opponent, they'll look a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm going to predict Flash, but if 𝘀ક્ષry wins, I think it's through mid-jungle. I think it's 𝘁, 𝘀ases running over 𝘁𝗀𝗃 𝗀𝗀, especially if 𝗀𝗀𝗀 plays as shallow
As he did, yeah.
Yeah, as he did on the first week. So, and 𝘁𝗃 is 𝘁𝗃. I feel like 𝘀ases is better than 𝘁𝗃 right now. Not by much. It's not like 𝘁𝗃 is terrible, but yeah, I feel like if
I think it's a coin flip. I think 𝘀ases is high highs, but he can also just have.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, I think Flash is definitely favored with Palat and Yoshino. Still too much talent on this team. 𝘁𝗀kid also can always step up.
So I think that ends up with 𝘀𝗀 first, Cerberus second, SGB, SBTC tied third, Flash fifth,
𝘀ક્ષry
sixth, Secret, then Burst the Sky.
That's very different from our power rankings, but a very interesting start. Let's see if we get the week 2 power rankings correctly, at least.
Yeah, well, we'll have to find out because Yeah, well, we'll have to find out. We will find out eventually, because that's how time works.
Well, we have some absolutely amazing matchups, I think. We start with 𝘁𝗰𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗀 against 𝘀𝗀. We have 𝘀𝗀 against 𝘀𝑠𝑃TC, 𝘁𝑠ℎ against 𝘀𝑠PTC, GLX against 𝘁𝑠h. We talked a lot about this matchup. Even though it doesn't look too great on paper, it's very important for the rest of the season. And 𝘬𝗏 against 𝘁𝗏 should be a playoff match as well. So this week is amazing when it comes to matchups and should give us some very good action, some cool games, and close competition.
Yeah, absolutely. So many great games. So many teams looking to redeem a crappy first week, namely Secret and Flash. Because holy crap, they did not look good. They looked far below what we expected. So did 𝘬𝗏, to be honest. But very expected. Very, very keen for next week. Because there's a lot on the line. And at the very least, there's pride on the line for these teams. So very, very exciting matchups. Very exciting stakes to play for. So yeah, very keen.
Yeah, to use an old LEC phrase, every game counts. Because we only play 14 series, so if you lose too many at the start...
God.
Yeah, we only have 14 best of threes, and we only have 4 playoff spots. So I think the implications for early games are actually the highest in our league all across the globe. So don't miss week 2, even though it's early. It's a very important one, much more important than LPL or LCK weeks right now. So you know where to go. Thank you for watching, and sorry again for EveryWei had to drop out sadly. He's going to be back on the weekend, of course. So have a good night or a good day wherever you are right now, and see you on the weekend.
See ya.